Creating Utopia, Ideal State Basic Principles. Introduction. What is an ideal state? There is no universal answer to this question. One might suggest that no one will ever be able to come up with such a perfect model that will satisfy the needs of all people. Nevertheless, it might be stated that everyone thought about how to create an ideal state. This paper will discuss the creation of a country named Utopia with the description of governing bodies, political, social, and economic structure, and domestic and international concerns. Domestic concerns. Governing style and principles that correlate to this style. Utopia will have a liberal democracy as an ideology of power with a political source of power. The governing style will support the establishment of an open society, will promote judgments based on the rule of law, and protect equal human rights, liberties, and freedoms. Democracy will be supported by the principles of meritocracy that promote merit-based power established on effort, achievements, intellectual, and emotional intelligence. The branches of government and its functions. The constitutional form of the country will be a congressional republican. The parliament will be divided into upper and lower houses. Utopia will have 3 branches of government: legislative, executive, and judiciary. The legislative branch will pass laws, create rules for the government and its executives, and control the federal budget. The executive branch will be responsible for governing the state as well as overviewing regulations according to the democratic governing style. The judiciary branch will be in charge of the ruling of the system of courts that will support judgments based on the actions done. 2 public good domestic programs and discussion of how they will meet the public good. Initially, the execution of 2 local public good programs might be suggested. First, based on Adam Smith's suggestion, a military supplement program will be created. The public good theory implies that there are issues that are difficult to manage globally, such as distinguishing free riders. The military may face this problem, thus, it is the government's obligation to fund the program. Another domestic program that will be suggested is the Environmental Protection Program. All citizens consume the air, and therefore, the program will be introduced to ensure protection from pollution. Thus, these domestic programs will benefit all people in Utopia. Economic structure. Capitalism will be implemented as a financial system in Utopia. The economic structure in the country will be based on private ownership. There will be established administrative organs that will ensure fair competition and the proper functioning of companies. Capitalism will support the democratic style created in Utopia by the freedom of decision-making in how to distribute wealth investments. Description of citizens' socialization for the creation of national unity. The educational system will be used as one of the sources to socialize citizens and create national unity. It is implied that people will aim to obtain an education as meritocracy will support the development of well-educated and hardworking people. The majority of people will attend educational organizations, so it will be easier to develop interpersonal ties. Textbooks and guidelines will be introduced to spread information about systems, citizens' obligations, such as voting, and other information. This adherence to rules will help to establish a sense of national unity. Foreign concerns. 2 international organizations in Utopia and description of both organizations. In Utopia, 2 international organizations will be created: Utopia Free Trade Organization, UFTO, for economics, and National Secure Unionization, NSU, Organization, for security. UFTO enforces free trade among organizations by reducing taxes and encouraging investment among members and introducing exclusive tax benefits. UFTO will promote the possibility to make foreign trade investments in the country and to get beneficial tax rates for new companies. NSU will ensure that members of the organization collaborate to protect their borders with the army and exchange information about possible invasions and attacks. Rationales for joining these organizations and steps to joining. The rationale to join the UFTO will be based on financial privileges a country can get when entering the organization, including tax benefits and free trade of goods. whereas the reason to join NSU will be the guarantee to protect the security of any member in case the enemy attacks a member of NSU. The steps to joining UFTO will include signing the Mutual Agreement on Free Trade, adjusting economic systems, and establishing adherence to rules. NSU will require countries to train their army and teach them standard defense rules and develop monitoring systems that will help to get secure information. 2 ways the country will combat the neighboring country's terrorist threat and the domestic warning, and an explanation of why these 2 ways will be effective. 2 methods to combat threats will be introduced: an aggressive collection of information on terrorists executed by the intelligence agency and the establishment of specific squads that are trained to fight various threats. One can claim that persistent collection of information will help to monitor risks and use the data as a source of trade. The introduction of squads will ensure that if an attack happens, there will be people who can combat terrorists in a way that citizens will not be hurt. Conclusion. To conclude, it should be noted that the ideal state does not exist and may not be created. However, it might be suggested that the perfect state is a state that will work for people. The state in which all citizens, including the disabled, the unemployed, large families, and other vulnerable segments of the population, will be equally treated and will have equal opportunities for a prosperous life, is a state we all are striving to live in.